Hello, I'm Callum Dilietto, and this is Flock Together, the podcast for travel and events professionals. Season 1 is in partnership with Visit Berlin, the Berlin Convention Office, and we're here today at Chewton Glen, where I am joined by Emma Duncan.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very pleased to be here.
Well, I'm very pleased to have you. And you've also got quite a unique work experience as well, right? You've spent over 2 decades at IBM, corporate side, and you've just shifted over to the agency world.
I know, I think we've just given away a few too many secrets there, but yes, that's entirely true. So, been at IBM 22 years actually, spent time in sales, spent about 8 years in sales, and then in marketing. And the last 5 years, I was the events leader for IBM UK and Ireland. But yes, excitingly, I've crossed over to the other side, and I'm now working as head of operations for an events agency called Assemble.
It's interesting to go from corporate to agency. Usually it's agency to corporate.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
Well, that's a really interesting question. It's kind of as I expected it to be, but I think the reality of it is slightly different. And in all honesty, I think, corporate side, I'm doing lots of sort of strategy, planning. Yes, we're delivering, we're doing all of the follow-up. Coming over to agency side, I think I've got a whole new appreciation of the whole world of kind of quoting, pitching and delivering. And the analogy that I've been sort of using to sort of explain it to people, because I'm 6 weeks in, right? So this is still fresh for me. When I first came in, it's like getting a job as an air traffic controller. And all I can see is all of these planes, right? And I've got all of these quotes and pitches that we've got to prepare for. And then we've got to deliver all of this stuff. So all these planes are taking off, all of this stuff's in the air, got some stuff landing. None of it can crash. All of it must be excellent. And so when I first started, I was like, okay. And I'm sort of at the stage now, 6 weeks in, I can at least start to see patterns emerging. And now I'm starting to think, okay, right, what are the tools and processes? How am I going to make sure that all of this stuff happens brilliantly? And that's kind of where I'm at.
Do you know, it's so interesting because I recently heard a keynote speaker who's, funnily enough, called Amelia Rose Earhart, right? And she has a book that's all about turbulence and there's advice in it about being the air traffic controller and managing all of these things. And so it's weird that you've used that analogy because I've heard it as a way to actually not just manage events, but just life in general and how you can kind of learn from what pilots know. So
yeah.
Definitely a book that I would suggest you check out because it sounds like it's kind of like, it's like basically embracing the turbulence and I think that's right. The beginning of the podcast is an opportunity really for you to be your own keynote speaker, as it were. It's reform, it's where you can write a letter to the industry. What would your letter be?
Well, actually, my letter is a thank you letter. Yeah, so I've gone classic old school.
Love
that. Back to the early days. What do you write? A thank you letter. And I think that I have been very fortunate to have experienced working with some fantastic agencies. And I suppose what I want to say in my thank you letter to the industry is to talk about the things that I've really appreciated from the client side, because actually these are things that I'm thinking about now in my new role. I think, I suppose there are sort of 4 things that I would want to say. I think the partnering is so important, and it's on clients to invest in their agencies if they really want to get the best from their agencies. And obviously, as an agency, you have to partner with your clients to deliver the best for them. So that whole partnering piece is so important for everyone to get maximum value. And value is my next thing, because I always sort of had this kind of thought that every time I'm interacting with somebody, so if I'm interacting with a business stakeholder, I've got to offer value. So what I need from my agency is to give me value. Yeah. So every interaction, what am I learning from somebody, or what am I imparting to somebody? And from a value perspective, it's about creativity, it's about innovation, it's new ways of doing things. And again, related back to the partnering, it's that sparking ideas off of each other. Because then you can create something and deliver something that's fantastic.
Yeah. I love that. I think you're right. Value. And at the end of the day, it's you could almost say it sounds transactional, but it's not. It is an exchange, but it's a value exchange.
Yeah, and it's time to value. That's the other thing. is everybody's time poor. So how do you give maximum value in a really short amount of time? Which means you've got to be really listening to people to pick up on what it is that you can give them that's going to be of most value to them. You've got to talk in their language. I was at a networking dinner the other day, actually, and we were talking about stakeholder management, and actually, whether you're a corporate person talking to your business leader, whether you're an agency person talking to your client, it's about using their language. Yeah, what can you say is going to be most impactful for them and make their life easier, because they haven't got time.
100%, definitely agree with that. And I think people love to waffle and say too much, and actually it's like, do you know what, just keep it simple. And I appreciate that, and I try to do that the same. And sometimes you just get to the point, say what it is. Don't feel like you have to fluff it to be polite. Like, you can still say it in a very polite way, but just get to the point, and there's me waffling about getting to the point, so that's ironic. I do understand that. But the second part of the podcast is about remembering. And that I'd like to challenge you to kind of remember your first ever work trip abroad.
Well, I can remember that, so it's quite easy. So I was going to a big sales kickoff, so I was working in sales at the time, and we went to Crete. We flew into Heraklion, I think it's Heraklions in Crete. And I was like, this is amazing, 4 days in Crete. Ooh. It was January. So
that's why it was there.
Not quite the dream I'd hoped. But I mean, the most bizarre thing about that whole trip for me was, because this was, obviously a few years ago, the fact there were people smoking on the aeroplane. And there was a smoking section on the aeroplane. I mean, I was pretty shocked at the time, but if you think about it now, you're just like, really? But yeah, there was literally like the back of the plane. It was like, wee.
It does make me laugh that even on planes now, there's still ashtrays, but then it'll be right next to a sign that says no smoking on the plane, and you're just like, how old is this plane? Because if there's still ashtrays, then there is a problem.
Yeah.
And what about your last work trip abroad?
Do you know, actually, it wasn't a work trip, but I had a fantastic time in Copenhagen recently. So I've never had the opportunity to be up there, but it just struck me as such a fantastic city. I'm a fan of a small city. I can't be on with anywhere that's too sprawling, but also just to have that real mix of, like the water and sort of feeling a bit closer to nature and the history, and also like cool vibes going on as well. So yeah, let's go with Copenhagen.
Copenhagen is a cool destination, to be fair, and I can see that it fits that brief very well, so that's great. The next part is about kind of revisiting. So if you could transport yourself back in time to a destination experience that you've had in your life, it can be for work or for pleasure, where would you go back to? What would you like to relive?
Well, I'm going to stick with my kind of sort of nature-related comment about Copenhagen. Do you know what? Isle of Harris. Outer Hebrides, absolutely magnificent. Went up there. It's a few years ago now, but by far probably my favourite holiday. I'm telling too many people, everyone will start going, but the scenery and the sort of blue waters, beautiful beaches, absolutely spectacular.
And if you could make a hotel home, any hotel that you've stayed in, or accommodation of any sorts, and to make that your permanent residence?
You know what? I think I'm still waiting for that place. I've been to some really lovely places, but I think this is part of the excitement of doing something new, is what will be next.
Yeah.
So, and actually the whole thing, coming this side into agency industry, never heard of fam trips before. Never heard of it. Like, it's a whole totally new thing. So, hey, who knows what that will be? I'll let you know.
Watch
I'll
this
come back and
space.
tell you.
The penultimate part of the podcast is about kind of reimagining, and so many people in the industry are organising events and experiences and incentive trips for clients, and if you were to do that for yourself, if you were to be given unlimited amount of money and to organise a trip, a once in a lifetime experience for you, where would you go? What would you do? And more importantly, what celebrity would you bring along with you?
This is a really good question. And I was really torn between hot and cold destinations. Because on the one hand, I'm a passionate snowboarder. On the other hand, love to lay in the sun, be in the sun, all the rest of it. So I can't really choose between hot and cold, but I think there would definitely be there's going to be an element of beauty and outside to what I'm doing. In terms of a celebrity, well, I also think I kind of like to get a bit of value for something. So, I want someone who's going to really inspire me. I think actually Brené Brown. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's done some really interesting work. I think she does stuff around sort of shame and vulnerability, but she's doing loads of stuff with corporates because I think it's about being authentic and about being real in your management style. So I think that she's got lots to offer. So I would have her as my speaker.
So maybe go snowboarding with her, and you can make it a twin destination. So maybe you snowboard and then you go to the beach.
Oh.
Maybe you could do that. There are some places where you both are fairly close.
That's it. Let's make it happen.
Exactly. And the final section of the podcast is about reacting. So I am going to ask you a quick fire round of questions.
Okay.
And you just have to answer as quickly as you can.
Right.
So the first one. Packing, last minute or week before?
Oh, last minute.
Carry on or check in?
Depends. Sometimes carry on, sometimes if I've got to choose.
Well, I mean, if you're snowboarding, you're going to be checking it in,
exactly.
Right?
If I'm weekend awaying, I'm absolutely.
Which do you prefer?
I probably packing because it means I'm going on a bigger holiday.
Fair. Airport lounge or shopping?
Oh, airport lounge.
Aisle seat or window seat?
Window. Like to be able to rest my head and look out.
Same.
Yeah.
Agreed. City or nature?
Nature.
Lay in or early start?
Lay in.
Poolside or seaside?
Probably poolside, but maybe a bit of seaside. I don't know. Poolside. I'm in with the pool.
Committed.
Let's be true.
You've
I'm going
committed
pool.
Planned or spontaneous?
Planned. I take too much time to think about things. Planned, obviously.
Of course, you need it all laid out for you.
Got to get it done, yeah, exactly.
And then finally, hotels, boutique or big brands?
Oh, boutique, for sure.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm very excited to see how your shift to agency side goes for you.
Thanks very much.